Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Cheryl Yuen. Here's a look at our top stories tonight. Health officials are on the lookout for a new Omicron subvariant. 5 teenagers are sent to a training center after becoming the youngest to be convicted under the national security law. And the only bridge linking Crimea and Russia has collapsed partially following an explosion. Hong Kong health authorities are worried that relaxed travel restrictions could lead to a rise in COVID cases caused by a new Omicron subvariant. This comes as the government says it has no plans to drop the Leave Home Safe app. Macy Mock reports.
The Center for Health Protection has raised concerns about a new Omicron subvariant that has reportedly led to a surge of COVID cases in Singapore. The center fears that Hong Kong could also see a spike in infections, as the BA.2.75 subvariant could evade immunity built from vaccines and past infections. Hospital Authority Chief Executive Tony Ko said only a few cases of the new strain have been imported, and there are no locally transmitted cases so far. The BA.5 subvariant accounts for over 90% of Hong Kong's COVID infections.
We noticed that in general, the severity and seriousness of the patients infected with the new subvariant is roughly similar to the conditions of those who have been infected with the variants of BA.5. Of course, it's still at the early stage, and we need to gather more data, both locally and also from overseas, to learn more about these variants.
The hospital authority is keeping an eye on developments, but Ko says there has been a slight uptick in the number of patients admitted to hospitals in the past few days. The government, meanwhile, defended the use of the Leave Home Safe app.
We use the Leave Home Safe app system to support the government anti-pandemic policy very successfully. So currently, we have no plan to cancel Leave Home Safe app.
Several health experts have suggested that the app is redundant, as there's rarely contact tracing. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
COVID-related deaths in the 5th wave have exceeded 10,000. This came as daily infections climbed for the 4th day in a row. After 4,900 infections recorded today, 295 were imported. There were another 13 deaths caused by the virus. Public hospitals are currently treating 1,582 COVID patients, 32 of whom are in critical condition. Passengers booked on local budget airline Hong Kong Express are complaining that their flights were cancelled without explanation. Many had plans to travel to Japan. Their flight dates were between this month and March. The airline did not explain why the flights were cancelled. It only said it's reviewing plans for the coming year and is making adjustments to flights scheduled for January 15th or later. 5 teenagers have been sent to a training center after pleading guilty to conspiracy to incite subversion. They were the first minors to be convicted under the national security law. Macy Mock reports.
7 members of the now-defunct group Returning Valiant were taken to the district court for sentencing. They had pleaded guilty earlier to conspiracy to incite subversion and promote the idea of an armed uprising last year. District Judge Kwok Wai Kin said every action of the pro-independence group, such as posting articles online, setting up street booths, or distributing flyers, could be considered as offenses. He said they had encouraged a bloody revolution several times and abetted others to undergo physical training to join the revolution. Although there was no evidence to prove that their actions influenced others, it was deemed that their speeches could inspire younger people to resort to violence. Kwok said this kind of behavior was a serious threat to national security, and no city would tolerate an armed revolution or let such an idea spread. But considering their age and citing their immaturity, Kwok sentenced 5 teenagers now aged between 16 and 19 to a training center. 2 adult members remained in custody and will be sentenced next month. Kwok said they will most likely be jailed. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
Overseas, a bridge linking Crimea with Russia has partially collapsed following an explosion which killed at least 3 people. Videos circulating on social media show the moment an explosion happened on the Kerch Bridge early in the morning. A Russian-appointed official in Crimea confirmed parts of the bridge had collapsed. Reports say a truck bomb exploded, triggering a fire which engulfed 7 railway carriages carrying fuel. It remains unclear what caused the explosion or who was behind it, but a Ukrainian official said it was only the beginning. He added that everything seized by Russia will be retaken. Crimea was part of Ukraine, but was incorporated into Russia in 2014 after a majority in a referendum chose Moscow. Emotions ran high in northeast Thailand today as grieving families gathered in temples to mourn those killed in the country's deadliest rampage. At least 37 people, including 23 children, were killed when a policeman who was sacked for taking drugs attacked a childcare center on Thursday. The man, who was armed with a gun and a knife, later killed himself. Most of the child victims, aged between 2 and 5, were slashed to death. One woman who lost her 4-year-old daughter was distraught as she described her child as a happy and loving girl. Thai King Maha Vajiralongkorn, who visited the relatives of the victims, said there were no words to express the sorrow. Washington plans to impose more sweeping restrictions on the sale of semiconductors to China. It's a move that could cause crippling setbacks to Beijing's technological advancement. Winna Wong reports.
It's one of Washington's most aggressive moves yet to hold China back in the rivalry on computer chips. The Biden administration announced through the Department of Commerce that it would further implement restrictive export controls on certain advanced semiconductor chips. It would also limit U.S. companies from selling related products to certain Chinese entities and from producing these products in China. The Bureau of Industry and Security said the move is meant to protect U.S. national security and foreign policy interests, since China can use the technology to advance its own military. It added that China aims to become a leader in artificial intelligence by 2030 and accused Beijing of using its technology to monitor its own citizens. In its daily briefing, Foreign Affairs spokeswoman Mao Ning said the U.S. was blocking fair competition and was violating international economic and trade rules. Winna Wang, HKIBC.
New York City has declared a state of emergency to cope with the thousands of migrants sent from Republican-led southern states.
Our right to shelter laws, our social services, and our values are being exploited by others for political gain. New Yorkers are angry. I am angry too. We have not asked for this. There was never any agreement to take on the job of supporting thousands of asylum seekers.
Adams said a center will open on Randall's Island to house the migrants, adding that the arrangements will cost the city $1 billion. In recent weeks, thousands of South American migrants were flown or sent by bus from Texas and Florida to cities run by Democrats. The southern states say they want the migrant problem to be shared evenly, but critics accuse the Republicans of being inhumane. Locally again, Chief Executive John Lee made a post on social media celebrating his first 100 days as Hong Kong's leader. On Facebook, Lee said he and his team have been working hard to listen and respond to the people's wishes. He also highlighted his 4 task forces, which he established to tackle key issues. On relaxing further measures for arrivals, Li said the implementation of the 0+3 arrangement has benefited many sectors. But the government must remain cautious and continue to take COVID seriously. Technology Minister Sun Dong believes that age will not be a defining criteria for Hong Kongers hoping to join China's space agency.
Based on the country's requirement, it said in principle the age should be from 30 to 45. That's why we said in terms of the age, we may have a little flexibility, but the final decision will be made by the country. I believe Hong Kong can utilize this good opportunity to enhance its development of ecosystem in aerospace, including aerospace education, research, and industry development. If we really have a good ecosystem, I'm confident we'll be able to attract a lot of experts from overseas to come to Hong Kong to develop their work.
Tokyo Street in Chengsha 1 resembled a river following a saltwater pipe burst early this morning. Water gushed 5 meters into the air after the rupture at 3 a.m., flooding a grass patch under the overbridge. Traffic had to slow down to navigate through several centimeters of water. Workers from the Water Supplies Department were called to carry out repairs. Onto the weather now. There will be some sunny periods tomorrow with temperatures ranging between 25 and 32 degrees. Expect 1 or 2 light rain patches on Monday and a very dry Tuesday. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Saturday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Cheryl Yuen. Good night.